Number 10. The Whiskey Drinking Bull. There are more than 250 recognised breeds of cattle throughout the world, but today we talk about the ones of considerable size that really made an impression. Starting off our list of the biggest bulls in the world is the Whiskey Drinking Bull from India. He's reportedly the biggest and most valuable in the entire country. What kind of bull is he? The bull is a Murrah bull named Sultan, and he stands 5 feet and 11 inches tall and weighs 3,300 pounds, over double the typical weight of your average Murrah bull. According to his owners, he eats 33 pounds of apples, 44 pounds of carrots, 22 pounds of grains, and 22 pounds of green leaves every single day. That's a lot of food for one bull. His owners also take care of him like he's royalty, taking him for walks and giving him a bath at least twice a day. But why is this bull so valuable? The answer is because his love juice is sold to almost every state in India, with a single dose being sold for around $5. In a single year, Sultan's owners made over $120,000 on selling the bull's sperm. His owner claims Sultan is worth $2.5 million. But most surprising of all is that Sultan apparently has a taste for whiskey. He's allowed to have a single drink of his favourite whiskey every single night. This bull lives a better life than most people. Number 9. Albert the Bull. Albert is in fact the largest bull on the face of the earth. He's been around for a long time, since 1964. This bull is 28 feet tall and has a 15-foot span between his horns. Of course, the bull isn't technically alive, but is still the biggest in the world and deserves a place on this list. I had you, didn't I? Roughly 20,000 visitors come to check out Albert every year. The massive bull was actually built as a replica of a Hereford bull, but he's 9 times larger than the real deal. He's located in western Iowa and is one of the best roadside attractions in the USA. The cow weighs 45 tons, and most of him is solid concrete. He won't be making babies anytime soon, but he is kind of famous, even being a question on an episode of Jeopardy! Albert was named after Albert Cruz, who was a past president of the local bank and responsible for launching an annual local beef promotion named Operation T-Bone. Don't get that confused with Operation Pork Chop, a local pork industry drive that lacks the vision to build a massive talking pig statue to promote itself. The only thing that's changed about Albert in the last 50 years is that he was repainted to have brown eyes instead of the original blue eyes he was first created with, as farmers were complaining that cows don't actually have blue eyes. Hey, real fast, if you're new to the channel, welcome! Give this video a like and hit that subscribe button for more videos like these. Number 8. Britain's biggest bull. The largest bull in Britain is a bulky Barnesford, and he is an absolute beast. This bull is so massive that 45,000 Big Mac burgers could be made from his meat. According to a report from the Mirror, he stands 7 feet tall and has roughly the same weight as an adult hippopotamus. Whoa! He tips the scales at a ridiculous 4,400 pounds. That's over twice the size of an average bull in Britain. But despite bulky Barnesford's monstrous appearance, his owner, a farmer from Stockport, claims that this hulk is actually a very gentle soul. He apparently likes nothing more than to be pampered and surrounded by a field full of lady cows. He's fathered at least 50 calves on the farm where he lives and 100 more through artificial insemination. Oh yeah, and it took only a year for Bulky to have that many children. He is truly the definition of a stud. But what you might be surprised to know is that Bulky does not get any special treatment when it comes to food. He has all the grass he can eat out in his fields, and once a day he gets around 15 pounds of concentrate. But it's the same diet as all the other bulls. He just so happens to be ridiculously huge, and it seems like he's still growing. Number 7. The longest horns. They say everything is bigger in Texas, and there is definitely some truth to that. For example, take the bull named Cowboy Tough Chex, who has the longest horns ever recorded on a Texas longhorn bull. This bull might not be the largest overall in terms of his body, but his horns are pretty much biblical in their size. From tip to tip, the horns on this bull are 101 inches, or just about 8.5 feet. To give you a quick comparison, that's longer than any basketball player is tall in the NBA. According to the report from Newsweek, Chex was originally from Oklahoma, and he sold recently for $165,000 to a breeding facility in Texas. Even though he's not abnormally large, the record length of his horns will make him an extremely desirable bull for breeders all across the country. That steep price tag will probably be paid off within just a few years by selling the bull's services for making little, or I guess big, longhorn babies. Number 6. Chianina Bull. Remember at the beginning when I said there are more than 250 recognised breeds of cattle? A lot of people don't realise that there are that many different breeds of cow, just as there are as many different breeds of horse. Not all cows are created equally though. Some are hairy, some are tall, and some are far larger than others. The largest breed of cow in the world is the Chianina. The average Chianina cow weighs roughly 2,222 pounds, while a bull can weigh up to 2,800 pounds. What's really unique about the Chianina cows, beside the hefty stature, is that they are porcelain white. These are the whitest cows you will ever find, and yes, they think mayonnaise is too spicy. But aside from just being extremely pale, Chianina cows are also super buff. You might notice that a lot of the largest bulls in the world are indeed from this specific breed, and you'll also notice a similarity in that they all have extremely well-defined muscles. Most Chianina bulls could probably outbox Mike Tyson. In Roman times of 300 to 200 BC, the breed was used mainly for draft and sacrificial purposes. With the coming into the Middle Ages, the times of Christianity, it became more practical. The medieval peasants simply could not afford to keep an animal that didn't work well, and those animals that could not conform were slaughtered. This practice may have been one of the first, albeit rustic, breeding programs. The legacy of this breeding program is consistent with the breed, their distinctively developed legs and hard hooves, and their endurance qualities and docility. Number 5. The world's shortest bull. We're going to take a slight detour real quick, because we couldn't talk about the biggest and heftiest bulls in the world without at least mentioning Humphrey, the shortest bull ever to live. This is obviously the complete opposite, but just look at Humphrey, he's ridiculously adorable. Bulls are obviously supposed to be huge and heavy, but something happened that made Humphrey really small. He's basically pocket-sized. This bull only stands 26.6 inches high, barely above the average person's knees. Humphrey was even featured in the 2020 Guinness World Records as one of the star entries. Humphrey is a type of cow breed known as a miniature zebu, so it's not totally surprising that he's tiny. His parents only stood 35.5 inches and 32.25 inches. And even though Humphrey is so small, he still has a normal life for a bull. He hangs out on the farm, the other animals seem okay with him, and the dogs on the farm treat him just like one of their own. Don't you want one? Number 4. The Adam and Adam of bulls. Here's a revelation that might be surprising. A geneticist from Pennsylvania State University who specializes in studying dairy cows has recently unveiled that almost all the dairy cows in the United States have descended through the years from just 2 giant bulls. It's unclear exactly just how big these bulls were, but it's safe to say that they must have been massive for all the other cows in the country to be traced back to them. According to the researchers from Penn State, there were 2 huge bulls born around the 1950s named Round Oak Ragapple Elevation and Pawnee Farm Arlinda Chief. And yes, those are completely preposterous names for bulls. But they must have been the most impressive specimens at the time, because almost every dairy cow in the United States can be linked back to one of them. This isn't detrimental to society or anything, it's just kind of fascinating. Number 3. Knickers the cow. Knickers the cow is a colossal animal. In fact, this Australian cow is so large that he was unable to be slaughtered. He's not technically a bull, seeing how he's been neutered. That makes him a steer, but he is still a giant male bovine that stands about 6 feet and 4 inches tall. He's only slightly shorter than the bull who holds the world record in Italy. However, Knickers is believed to be the biggest steer in all of Australia. But to really understand how much larger he is than the other cows, you really have to look at him in the field. It's like the opposite of trying to find Waldo. He towers above the other cows and sticks out like a sore thumb. And while most people probably don't care about a giant cow, the world seems to go crazy over Knickers. There have been reports from the BBC, CNN, USA Today, and pretty much every other newspaper on Earth. He's famous. And of course, with so much attention came the conspiracy theories. People were screaming about hormones, unnatural gene editing, the end of mankind, and all brands of other craziness. But according to the owner of the cow, it's really just a random act of nature that made Knickers so big. Number 2. Daniel the bovine. Daniel is a giant bovine and one of the tallest cows in the world. He is a typical Holstein cow, black and white just like you'd expect. Only, he stands almost 6.5 feet tall and weighs over 2,300 pounds. That's a seriously hefty beast. Daniel the bovine eats around 100 pounds of hay and 15 pounds of grain every day. He also drinks roughly 100 gallons of water and produces 150 pounds of cow poop, the latter of which is pretty gross. Daniel lives in California and according to his owner was noticeably large at about 6 months old while he was still being bottle fed. By the end of 6 months, Daniel was so large that it was hard to feed him with the bottle. As of the time of this story, Daniel has been measured for Guinness World Records and the owners were eagerly awaiting the results. If you're curious as to which cow owned the previous record for being the tallest in the world, it was Blossom. Blossom the cow stood at 6 feet and 2 inches tall, but unfortunately died in May of 2015. Number 1. Donetto the Chianina bull. It's time to meet the largest bull in history. His name was Donetto, and he was exhibited at the Arezzo show in Italy back in 1955. He was also a monster of a bull. Sources put his weight at between 3,840 and 3,920 pounds. That's a lot, even for a Chianina bull. There have been some pretty hefty bulls since then that have come close, but nobody has broken this record. Unfortunately, because Donetto came from the 50s in Italy, there are not a lot of official documents citing who bred the bull, what happened to him after he was presented, or if he fathered any oversized children. We can only assume that he was cooked into 10,000 delicious Italian meatballs. Number 10. The Black Horse. Horses are some of the most expensive animals a person can buy, but one horse in particular is more expensive than most, the legendary Black Stallion. I'm talking about a breed of horse known as Frisian horses, which were actually used in medieval times when knights charged into battle. They originated in the northern parts of the Netherlands and are black as the darkest night. But even though this is such a majestic beast, it's believed that during World War I there were only 3 Frisian stallions left in the world that were available to breed. Since then, their numbers have increased, but they have only gotten more and more expensive. If you're wanting to purchase one of these grandiose stallions, you're looking at paying upwards of $25,000 per horse. However, you can pay even more depending on factors like personality and physical traits. For example, if you get a Frisian horse that has been trained already, you're looking at an extra 10 to 20%. And if you're picking up a registered sport horse for racing, you can actually double or even triple the price. These horses are definitely gorgeous, but they can really break the bank. Some of the top horses in this breed can even go for upwards of $150,000. Number 9. The Croc Skin Handbag. Move down. Some of the most expensive handbags, shoes and belts that a person can buy are crafted from crocodile skin. While this is extremely frowned upon in a lot of places in the world, it's still big business. It's such big business that the most expensive crocodile handbag was recently purchased by David Beckham for $379,000 at an auction. The handbag came from a white Himalaya Niloticus crocodile, which in itself is insanely rare. These are not the type of crocodiles that you typically see wandering through the swampy regions of the United States. The crocodile is pure white, resembling the snow of the Himalayan mountains. And this is where it gets its name from. But according to CNBC, the handbag had even more to it than just rare crocodile skin. It was completed with over 240 diamonds, 18 karat gold, and a whole lot of style. And while most of the population frowns on any kind of accessory made from the skin of an animal, when you have millions of dollars to throw away on nothing, it's not really of any consequence to you. What do you think about a purse like this? Is it wrong? Is it beautiful? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe for more videos like these. Number 8. The Cloned Dog. Imagine if you could bring your pet back from the dead. Actually, you don't have to imagine anymore, because this is 100% possible. Back in 2008, Edgar and Nina Otto were devastated when their yellow Labrador died of cancer. Absolutely destroyed by the death of their dog, they sought out a cloning service to bring their dog back to life. It ended up being one of the most expensive pets ever created, and indeed one of the only pets ever created artificially. According to Mrs. Otto herself, they would have paid any amount of money to recreate their beloved dog. But just how in the world did this happen? Well, a firm in San Francisco called BioArts teamed up with the Biotech Research Foundation in South Korea, and together they helped clone a version of the deceased Sir Lancelot, making him the first cloned dog, born in 2009. It cost about $155,000. But what's really strange about this is that the cloning service in America actually suspended their commercial cloning service shortly after Sir Lancelot Encore, the name of the Otto's new dog, was created. The process can still be completed in South Korea, but it's not currently operating in North America. The animal cloning process involved injecting the DNA of the original dead animal into the egg of a surrogate dog. And as you can already tell from the Otto family's experience, it really does work. Number 7. The $1 Million Cow. If you thought dogs and horses were expensive, just wait until you meet the most expensive cow on the planet. Back in 2009, at the annual Royal Agricultural Winter Fair in Toronto, a 3-year-old cow named Missy was sold for $1.2 million. This is an insane amount of money to spend on any cow, and yet it definitely happened. The cow was bred in the province of PEI, and she was a genetic gold mine. Apparently, the actual worth of Missy is far more than what she was bought for, and it's all because of her embryos and her perfect genetic resume. Farmers from all over the world will pay an insane amount of money to get their hands on Missy's embryos for future breeding. The man who originally bred Missy claims that she could have as many as 75 babies over the course of her entire life. But what's really interesting about the sale is that Missy was purchased by two different buyers from the United States and Denmark, and even though they have the rights to all her embryos, Missy will continue living in Canada, thereby negating any possible stress that could come from moving her. Number 6. The Ashera cat. Most people probably didn't pay any money for their cat or cats. Most cats are barn cats, stray cats, or cats that have been adopted from your local animal shelter. However, those with a lot more cash to burn are able to purchase some seriously pure cats. One of the most expensive of all is a hybrid cat known as the Ashera. This hybrid is a cross between an African serval, an Asian leopard cat, and an ordinary domestic house cat. But wait a minute, what I just said isn't actually true. The Ashera cat was a massive scam undertaken by a company known as Lifestyle Pets. After selling their unique hybrid cats for over $125,000, some breeders got suspicious and did DNA testing. The tests revealed that these cats were simply savanna cats, ordinary hybrids that have been around for a long time, created by mixing servals with domestic cats. An ordinary savanna cat costs significantly less than what was being charged by Lifestyle Pets. These guys basically purchased ordinary cats and then upsold them under a new name to wealthy buyers, resulting in one of the biggest cat controversies of the century. Number 5. The dog with lion blood. Tibetan Mastiff dogs are huge and furry beasts. However, they're not typically that expensive. Of course, except for the one Tibetan Mastiff that was recently purchased by a Chinese businessman for $1.9 million. As of right now, this is the most expensive dog ever sold. The man who purchased the dog is a property developer who preferred not to be named by local Chinese media. According to the New York Post, prices for Tibetan Mastiffs have recently skyrocketed in China as the ultra-rich use them for status symbols, almost like buying a fancy car or a big house. Other Tibetan Mastiffs have been sold for up to $968,000. But these Mastiffs are a little different. These ones have unique hair. The puppy that sold for nearly $2 million had golden hair that made it look especially like a lion, while others that are sold for high prices have a dark red coat. The dog's breeder even claims that Mastiffs have lion blood, and that's why they are so desirable for the super wealthy Chinese businessmen. Some have compared the Tibetan Mastiff's rarity to that of the panda bear. Number 4. The most expensive fish. Imagine going to the store and paying almost $1 million for a tuna. You would never do such a thing. And yet, somebody did. A 593-pound bluefish tuna was recently sold at a fish market in Tokyo for an incredible amount of money. The bluefin tuna was caught off the coast of Japan, and it was presented at the first fish auction of the year, making a huge splash in the local fishing community. Here's a bit of background on this expensive fish. Bluefin tuna is prized by sushi eaters because it has red and meaty flesh. However, the supply of bluefin tuna has been dramatically decreased over the years because of overfishing. As recently as 2009, the bluefin tuna was labelled an endangered species. And you wouldn't believe it, Japan actually consumes 80% of all the bluefin tuna in the world, meaning they really don't have anyone else but themselves to blame for the dramatic lack of the fish. But in any case, because of the bluefin tuna's immense rarity now, just one fish can cost nearly $1 million. The fish I was talking about in the beginning was purchased for $736,000. Number 3. The most expensive horse ever. We talked a bit earlier about a really expensive breed of horse known as Frisian horses. And while yes, these black stallions do go for a crazy amount of money, the most expensive animal ever sold is actually a horse named the Green Monkey, who was purchased at an auction for $16 million. It was the most expensive horse ever sold. This horse was worth more than most neighborhoods. The reason the horse was so expensive was that he ran an eighth of a mile in just 9.8 seconds, causing an insane bidding war. What's really crazy is that the horse went on to be a huge failure. It finished one race in 3rd place, lost a bunch of other times after that, and was very quickly retired. His entire earnings throughout all his races only amounted to $10,440. However, the horse did sire at least 46 foals, with several of them going on to be racing champions. And unfortunately for the Green Monkey, he ended up being euthanized at the young age of just 14. Number 2. The Stag Beetle. We've been talking a lot about large animals, and I think it's time we focus on a rather expensive insect. It turns out that the stag beetle is the most expensive insect on the entire planet. This beetle is black with huge red antlers and a chestnut brown wing case, and it costs about $89,000 to buy. That's because the insect is rare, it's incredibly strange, and it's one of the longest insects in the world, with a range of between 2 and 3 inches. Males have giant mandibles or antlers at the front of their faces that they use to fight and to pick up lady beetles. Unfortunately, these majestic and beautiful insects are considered to be endangered. This is one of the reasons for the insane price tag on them. They have been classified as a protected species. A dramatic loss of habitat has resulted in their steady decline, and now they are mainly seen inside the collections of very wealthy bug enthusiasts. Number 1. The real cost of a tiger. If you've ever thought about buying a tiger or another wild cat, you probably haven't taken all the variables into consideration. Strangely, big cats don't actually cost that much money. For some completely insane reason, you can pick up a tiger cub for about $2,500. That's less than a 10-year-old used car. Of course, this also depends on where you live, as somewhere like Texas obviously has a huge abundance of tiger cubs for sale. But now you have to take a look at the real costs. Not only is caring an issue, with cats growing bigger and bigger by the day and also more dangerous, but there is the cost of food to think about. Also land. For example, you need at least 5 acres for a big cat, and that could set you back about $75,000 per acre. Then you need a giant fence to house your cat inside of, which can cost up to $8,000 assuming you only have those 5 acres. Next, you need a cage, which is going to cost you another $7,500. Then you need federal permits, you need a license, and you need insurance, and all of these things will cost anywhere from $1,000 to $14,000 a year. And don't forget about food, which can be more than $10,000 per year. This is all according to Big Cat Rescue, who knows this stuff because they have over 100 big cats on their property. Basically, a tiger or another big cat is a seriously expensive endeavour, and dangerous. Number 10. Ditching friends. A humpback whale recently got into some trouble when it was ditched by its jerk friends and abandoned to deal with a whole lot of angry crocodiles. This happened in Australia's Northern Territory, and it's the first time that a humpback whale ever swam the wrong way and ended up in the Australian river filled with crocs. The stranded whale was in a group of 3 friends spotted by researchers that were swimming through the East Alligator River. This river connects Kakadu National Park with the sea, and it's notoriously murky and dangerous. There are at least 100 miles that are ripe with hungry crocodiles who sit patiently, waiting to ambush anything tasty looking that gets too close. But here's where the jerk whales come in. The humpback whales were obviously a little lost, and 2 of them realised it. 2 of the whales made a U-turn and headed back to sea, but they left their friend behind. The lone whale continued swimming for miles and miles, completely lost without its friends. This is obviously atrocious behaviour for humpback whales, and if not for the fact that the whale was estimated to be about 52 feet in length, it probably would have ended up being dinner for the crocodiles. Of course, since the whale was in uncharted waters, it could have also gotten stranded on a shallow shore where the crocodiles certainly would have picked it apart. In the end, marine biology experts had to get together to save the whale themselves since it was abandoned by its mean friends. Let this be a lesson not to hang out with humpback whales, they might leave you behind. Number 9. Bully mountain lion. Mountain lions are some of the biggest jerks ever, especially if you're a dog. When a man named Kirk Fetter left his puppy alone outside in El Dorado County, it became the ideal victim for a local terrorizing mountain lion. Kirk was asleep inside when he heard the ruckus and actually had to run outside in nothing but his underwear in order to save his poor dog from the cruel grip of the mountain lion. The dog's name was Tiki, and she was in mortal danger because of the big and ferocious cat. By the time Kirk bust out of the house and saw what was going on, the mountain lion had Tiki's entire head in its mouth, ready to deliver the killing crunch. But thinking fast, Kirk raced to the dog's rescue, scared the mountain lion away, and went quickly to his dog to make sure she was okay. In the end, Tiki had a few small puncture wounds on her head and a light cut on her stomach, but she would survive. Because this happened in a rural town, Kirk had to wait until the morning to take his dog to the vet, but she made a full recovery. And from now on, Tiki probably won't be sleeping on the balcony by herself. Have you ever had any scary experience with a wild animal? What did you do? What happened? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. We've got more videos coming up. Number 8. The cowbird. It's hard to imagine a bigger jerk of a bird than the cowbird. But unlike other birds that are jerks to humans like magpies and seagulls, cowbirds are jerks to other birds. They are something known as a brood parasite, and they have a very nasty habit of laying their eggs inside the nests of other bird species. This may just sound like neighbourly behaviour, but it's actually quite rude. The female cowbird watches other birds in the area, just waiting until one of them lays their eggs. The female cowbird then stalks that bird's nest until the bird leaves to take care of some other bird business. The cowbird then sneaks in and lays her own eggs in the other bird's nest. And here's where things get absolutely insane. Some birds have evolved the ability to recognise when a cowbird has placed her parasitic eggs on their nest, and they can reject the cowbird eggs by shoving them out of the nest so that they break on the forest floor below. But it's not always so easy. When a cowbird lays her eggs in another bird's nest, that bird doesn't really have any choice but to care for the eggs itself. This is because if the bird recognises the parasitic eggs and pushes them out of the nest, the cowbird will come back and destroy that bird's eggs in a harsh display of revenge. The cowbird is spiteful, mean, and downright lazy when it comes to their eggs. Number 7. Rude scavengers. Coyotes are scavengers. In fact, coyotes scavenge more than they actually kill, and they're not always very friendly about it. Coyotes are often considered to be opportunistic omnivores, meaning they eat pretty much anything that comes their way. What's really interesting is that a new study of coyote behaviour from New York State has found that only about 8% of deer carcasses that have been touched by coyotes have actually been killed by the animals themselves, with the remaining 92% of all adult dead deer being scavenged by coyotes after they were killed by a vehicle or some other kind of injury. Basically, coyotes scavenge as much as they possibly can and don't really do all the work stalking and hunting involves. But here's why coyotes are huge jerks. They have been known to steal food from smaller and weaker animals. If there is food to scavenge, you can bet the coyotes are going to be there to steal it. These aren't the biggest predators in the world, being slimmer and smaller than wolves, but they are definitely wily. Coyotes are also huge jerks to sheep and other livestock, as they frequently sneak their way underneath fences and into enclosed pens, when they then feast on the defenseless sheep who have nowhere to run. After all, you've probably heard the term coyote in a henhouse. This should say enough about just how rude coyotes can be to other animals. Number 6. Dog sticks up for human. A man in a small village in India was recently attacked by 3 lions and then saved by his pet dog, proving once again that dogs truly are man's best friend. This happened in Ambadi village, where apparently a local shepherd had been grazing his sheep when 3 lions appeared out of nowhere and decided that the sheep were easy prey, as we all know how big of jerks lions are to basically every other animal around. The sheep herder jumped into action and tried to save his sheep from the giant cats, but ended up needing a bit of saving himself. The dog began barking like crazy, which helped alert the nearby village people that something was going on. Within just a few seconds, so many people had come and gathered around the man, who was by the way still being attacked by the lions, and the big cats were forced to flee. It was a miracle that the man only suffered a few minor scratches on his arm. The dog didn't get hurt at all, and only about 3 sheep were lost during the attack. The lesson here is that lions are the kings of the jungle, and they think they can be jerks to whoever they want. Number 5. The wild boar crisis. It should come as absolutely no surprise that pigs are huge jerks. Pigs are stinky, ill-tempered, and incredibly intelligent. Perhaps that explains why there is supposedly a wild boar crisis unfolding right now in Canada. This is happening in the western provinces, where some people are saying that wild boars have begun wreaking havoc on the ecosystem and the indigenous animals. According to CBC News, this is happening primarily in Saskatchewan. There have been reports that wild boars escaped from farms in Alberta and are now the dominant animal species found throughout the prairies, and this is dangerous for many reasons. They have allegedly spread like wildfire and are at risk of causing at least $400 million in damages to farmland. Wild boars are also jerks to other animals. They have no problem killing the local species when they get in their way, ravaging other animals' natural habitats, and even sometimes charging at humans. Before anyone knows it, a bunch of rude wild boars will have taken over all of Western Canada. Number 4. Gulls are thieves. Seagulls are major jerks for one reason. They are straight up thieves. They have one animal in particular they really love to bully. Seagulls terrorize and steal food straight out of the mouths of pelicans. This is a shame because pelicans are very hard-working animals, and like most animals in the world, pelicans aren't really into sharing. But do seagulls care? No! Pelicans hunt by swimming in the water and scooping up fish wherever they can find them. They've gotten pretty good at it throughout the years, and seagulls use their proficiency at hunting to their advantage. Seagulls will actually soar above the water where pelicans are stationed, and the moment that a pelican hurls its massive body into the water and scoops a fish into its mouth, the seagull will swoop down and literally snatch the fish straight out of the pelican's face. Either that, or the seagull will watch the pelican until it messes up and makes a wrong move. If the pelican falters even a little bit and drops the fish into the water, the seagull will also come soaring down to scoop it out of the water before the pelican can recover it. This is why seagulls are often referred to as pirates of the seashore. They are rampant thieves, both on the east coast and on the west coast. And it's not just pelicans they steal from. If a seagull sees something it can eat, it will come flying down to steal it from anybody and everybody. Number 3. Monkey bullies. Monkeys are hardcore bullies. But what's really crazy about monkeys is that they actually bully each other. Monkeys are inherently jerks, and when it comes to a large group of them, they can often smell weakness just like kids on the playground, and they will bully their fellow monkeys endlessly. There is no better example of this than a story from 2008 when a monkey that was orphaned by the Jiaozhou City Zoo in China was bullied by other jerk monkeys so badly that the zoo had to give him a guard dog to keep the other rude animals away. In fact, the entire troop of monkeys hated the orphan so fiercely that if not for his guard dog, the zoo was scared that he would have been torn apart. According to a spokesman from the zoo, each time the orphaned monkey sensed that he was in danger, he would jump onto the back of the dog and hold on tight, while the dog would actually run up to the group of jerk monkeys and bark at them until they ran away. As you can imagine, this seriously disrupted the hierarchy of the monkeys. Some of the highest ranking monkeys in the organisation tried to get revenge by organising ambushes, but all of their ambushes failed because the dog would simply get loud and scare them away. It was an enormous soap opera unfolding at the zoo, and so far as we can gather, the monkey and the dog actually became best friends. Number 2. Elephant Mafia. There's no easy way to say it. Elephants are thugs, bullies, and very rude jerks. Specifically, elephants are thugs at the watering hole. Watering holes are supposed to be places where all the animals can come together to drink in peace. Hippos cool off in the water, crocodiles snatch a quick meal if something tasty gets too close, and elephants can quench their thirst. But according to researchers from the National Centre for Scientific Research from France, who recorded the comings and goings of elephants at the Hwang National Park in Zimbabwe, elephants run a kind of mafia at the watering hole. The team noted that herbivore species, such as buffalo and zebra, actually increase their drinking time on average by about 2 minutes when elephants are present at the watering hole. This could be for any number of reasons. Researchers suggest that the animals spend extra time drinking because they have to keep their eyes on the elephants, since they have a tendency to be spontaneously violent and unpredictable. Another theory is that the herbivores actually feel safer from predators when elephants are around because lions and other carnivores simply don't mess with the elephants. As of right now, nobody is entirely sure what the data means, but the general consensus is that elephants are a force to be reckoned with, and everyone treads a little lighter when they are around. Number 1. Another rude mountain lion. We've already talked a little bit today about how rude mountain lions can be, but this next story is about the bravery of a dog, the predatory nature of a large cat, and the poor Chihuahua Dachshund mix that lost an eye during an epic battle. According to the report in People magazine, this all went down in Colorado when Miho and Winston slipped out of the house through an open doorway like a couple of sneaky teenagers. But the dogs got a lot more than they bargained for when a massive mountain lion pounced on Miho, the Chihuahua Dachshund mix, and had his teeth wrapped around the poor dog's head. I don't think I need to tell you that this is a jerk move. And Winston wasn't standing for it. Even though Winston was only slightly larger than Miho, he charged at the mountain lion with all he had, barking and barking until the mountain lion got so scared that it dropped Miho and ran away. 15-year-old Miho was rushed to the animal hospital where he unfortunately lost his right eye. But if it hadn't been for Winston, Miho would have been dinner for the very rude lion. Thanks for watching. Have you ever witnessed animals being rude? Let me know about it in the comments below, and be sure to hit subscribe for all the latest animal videos. What's the worst thing any animal has ever done to you? What's the jerkiest thing any animal has ever done to you?